Peace and love, a September upgrade in September.
Well, guys, there's another upgrade, and it's actually September, and this is September's upgrade box. Go figure. So I'm super excited to be giving you guys a September upgrade opening in September, and let's get into it. Let's see what we got. The first thing I pull out is an opaque white gouache, and I'm super excited. I enjoy playing with gouache. It's still a new medium for me, but I do have fun with it. So getting these out and trying them is going to be super fun. These gouache are made by the company Talons, and it came in an opaque white, a perm rose, a light blue cyan, and a Naples yellow red. The paintbrush that came with it is a size 6 Habico is the manufacturer. They've been around since like 1903. It's made with synthetic fibers and has a round tip. And then we get a ballpoint pen in a 0.1 millimeter by Central Pen. It's apparently document proof up to 50 years, guys. So it's not fading, which is nice. Afterwards, this thing quickly becomes my enemy, but I will get into that later. This is a 2-in-1 glue stick. It's not my friend, but it's a 2-in-1. It acts like a glue, but also it gets like sticky at the end so that you can like adhere like little embellishments and foil, and I definitely end up having a fun time figuring that out. Not only did I have a fun time figuring it out, but as you can see here, I had a fun time opening that bad boy. Finally open it and see that it has a nice chisel tip so that you can get like a thick line and a fine line with it, which is good. And I love the sticker of the girl. It's beautiful. I am going to put that somewhere. And now we flip through the catalog. Well, I'll look at that later. And in this envelope, I'm like, oh, we got some goodies. Which is, it was goodies, but they were just like extra cool stickers from previous boxes that they threw in there. So that's nice. Now we get the foil that you're going to end up using together with that glue, and the featured artist, which her name is Angelica, and you can follow her on the Insta. From it's called Artusian with a double underscore. And then finally we get the mixed media paper made by Canson. It's 200 GSM, nice and thick. Shouldn't give us a problem with the medium that we have. Okay guys, we have everything we need for our battle, which is Mysterious Mind.
Okay, so let's tape down our paper so it doesn't move anywhere. And also, it'll give us a nice sharp border to work with. Here I'm just, trying to think what I'm going to do for the drawing. I know what I want to see come on the paper, and now I'm just trying to sketch it out. I want her face like tilted up, but not super like high up, just like, taking a deep breath kind of feeling. This new easel has been working so well for me, especially using mediums like watercolor and like this, like gouache, because although I have my paper taped to my surface, I can move it around when I have to, and I can lift it up so I can get a straight up view from it. So I really, really am enjoying the easel. I know I wanted to put bangs on her in this picture, so I kind of like went into the profile knowing that that was going to happen at some point. I wanted her hair to seem like it was dripping or oohing or gooing, or I wanted it to get that kind of feel of that kind of hair. I wanted her bangs to look like they were perfect, but then her hair to be just oozing. I thought that brought to the mysterious mind kind of setting. Tend to mess up on the lips a lot, so I really wanted to get her lips done right. And I know I'm painting over it, so I don't have to worry about it, but I still wanted to get her lips right. So I definitely made sure that the sketch can be translated into the painting itself. Now here I put a paper on the side, and that's going to be my swatch sheet, because it's so important to know your colors and how they're going to look on the paper that you're using. So here I just swatched the Perm Rose and just see how it looks just thick, and then I see how it looks when it has a little bit of water introduced, and then I see how it looks when it has more water introduced. And what that does for me is it shows me how different each stage is going to look on the paper. And also you have to remember when you're using gouache that it dries a lot different than when you put it on. So you think you have like a really dark color going on, and then once it's dry, it's a lot lighter. So you have to go into painting with gouache with that idea of it's going to get lighter. And then here I realized that I dripped a little bit of the red paint on my paper. I was a little upset, but I didn't get too angry because I knew I was gonna paint over it with a darker color, so it was gonna get messed up. I just didn't like the way it looked at that point. And here I'm just wetting my paper where I want to put the paint on first, the gouache on first, so that it can spread easier. I find that it's very helpful if you're going to paint a large surface when you're using gouache or watercolor to wet the surface so that you can spread the paint a lot easier. It makes it a lot less stressful, and it makes it also easier to spot if there's going to be, like in this case, like clumps of paint, and you don't want that. You can easily blend it out when you have wet on wet. I wanted her background to kind of feel like a night snowy sky. You know how the sky, when it snows, it's like super purplish, blackish kind of feel to it. I wanted a similar effect to that. So that's what I was trying to do here. Also, when I was making the different colors that I wanted to use on the paper, every time I made a color, I would transfer it onto that swatch sheet just so that I had a reference to that color in case I made the color and I didn't make enough of it and I had to remake it. And it's also going to show me, once it dries, how it's going to look. It would have helped if I knew that in the beginning, because I end up changing the background a little bit. You'll see. As far as the consistency for gouache is concerned, like when it's in the palette, as you see there with the purplish color, you want it to be, you don't want it to be super thick. You want it to have a little bit of water in it. You can put even more water in it. But as far as like you wanting a gouache consistency, you want it to be like thick. Not super thick that it cracks, because gouache can crack if you put it on too thick. But you want it to be able to give a nice opaque layer when you're laying it onto your paper, if you're using it as a gouache consistency. If you want to use it as a watercolor consistency, you definitely want to water it down a lot more. But that also means that your color is not going to be as rich. And right here, I'm just trying to get her skin tone that I want for her face. So I'm mixing a couple of the primaries together to get that consistency. Now that Naples yellow red is not the primary yellow you want to use to make a skin tone, but it served its purpose. Like I was able to make what I think is a nice skin tone with it. And then over here, I'm just trying to make her blushes and lips color, so that I don't have to worry about it later, and so that I can see the color that it's going to come out when it dries. The first time I did it, it was really, really runny and light, so I just added more gouache to the mix and a little bit of white. So while you're doing your first layers of gouache, it's really important to realize that there's gonna be like an ugly stage of the painting where it's not gonna look consistent. There's gonna be brush strokes, and it's just gonna be, it's just gonna be you telling yourself in your head, trust the process, trust the process, trust the process. And that's all you have to do. You trust the process. You do your first layer, and the second layer will go on beautifully. So just bear that in mind when you're painting anything. When you're painting, when you're using markers, when you're using crayons, when you're using watercolors, trust the process. It's gonna get better, but it's not gonna look good sometimes during the process. Yeah. So right here, I took a little bit of that Royal Talons Naples yellow and just kind of wanted to highlight the other side of her face a little bit, which I don't think did that much of a difference, but that's what I was trying to do with that. Having a spray bottle when you're using gouache is such a time saver. Either a spray bottle or like a little pipette. It's always so good because you're going to need to re-wet your paint sometimes. Well, a lot of the times. And it's just so handy to have by your side when you're doing these kinds of paintings with this medium. As far as drying is concerned, you really don't have to worry about your paint drying in your palette. Like this paint in this palette, I can let it dry and come back in a week and re-wet it and use it again like nothing happened. So that's a plus. But it's also like it's a double-edged sword, because that means when you're painting with it, once it dries, you can still lift it if you re-wet it, if you try to put another paint on it. So when you're going over things, especially with lighter colors or darker colors, you want to make sure that you don't overwork the paper on that next layer, because it will show through. It will also like pull the paint up if you're overworking it. And I end up doing that at one point. So I speak from I speak from experience. Unfortunately, I speak from experience. And then here I took a little bit of inspiration from the artist, the artist that was on with Upcrate, and I wanted to make her hair like a blue, but it ended up being like a tealish blue, which I really liked that color. It was really pretty. And then I just tried to lighten it up a little bit so that I have that contrast with the hair color. I'm really enjoying using these paints. They're super like creamy and rich. A little goes a long way. I ended up putting like way too much red, and I didn't need that much red. So I'm kind of bummed about that. Not that it's going to go to waste or anything, but I could have just left that red in the tube and not used so much. But the paint works so nice. They go on so pretty. I really like these paints a lot. I think I looked it up, and each tube individually, like if you were to purchase them individually, they go for about $10 a tube, sometimes even more. So these are really good products that they've sent us from Upcrate. I don't think I mentioned Upcrate is a subscription box that it comes from Germany. That's where they ship them from, and they come a long way. But let me tell you, they don't skimp on the products that they've put into their boxes, and I really do like that. So Upcrate is a monthly subscription, like I said. It's from Germany, so it takes a while to get to us, but it runs about $25 a box, and if you subscribe for more months at a time, they knock off like $3 or $4 each box. So if you can afford it, it pays to get a couple more boxes instead of just the one box. The only downside is it comes from Germany, so instead of you getting the box the 1st or the 5th of the month, you end up getting it like the 14th of the month, and nowadays you end up getting it like the following month. Although this month, I gotta tell you, it's still September and I got the box. I'm like super stoked. You have no idea. But I can wait. I'm patient. I can wait. It doesn't bother me. I have other things that I do as far as art is concerned, but this is just like my little fun surprise package that I get every month that I really do enjoy. So on her face, I just wanted to highlight her cheeks with a little bit of a rosy color, and on her nose with a little bit of a rosy color. And once I did that, I had to blend in all of it together, or else it just would have looked off. So that's basically what I did there. And again, don't forget to swatch. It's always nice to see those colors and the end result for those colors when you do swatches. There are other subscription boxes out there. There's definitely plenty that are located here in the US. So if you're not looking to wait, or you don't want to take the chance of purchasing something from overseas, there's definitely other boxes you can get that are United States based. One is called Art Snacks. Another one is called Sketchbox. And then there's one more called Paletful Packs. I've dabbled in each and every one of those, to be honest with you, and I really do enjoy getting the boxes from overseas more. Even though I have to wait for shipping, I enjoy getting it because there are certain art supplies that you can't get in the US, that you can only get from overseas. And if you've seen shipping from these companies overseas, it's super expensive. But on top of that, sometimes you can't even get them to ship certain things from overseas. So you have to like go to third parties, like eBay and Etsy, and buy them from places like that. And sometimes those places are super sketchy. So getting an art subscription box with supplies that you would like to try from other places, it's nice. It's nice, and you also can you can trust the source. You know, they're not gonna fudge something up just to make a quick buck on you. And you know, they're all over the Insta and stuff like that, social media. And you know, you don't want to be on social media and get a bad rep. So I think they do a pretty good job as far as sending their supplies. I haven't been disappointed. I think maybe just there was one box that they sent that was like a stamping box, and it just wasn't for me. I never even dabbled in it. So, yeah. And here I ended up putting like petals, like folding towards her, just to get the sense that there was a breeze coming by, and it loosened some petals while she was taking in that breath. Again, to go with the mysterious mind kind of thing. Oh, the dreadful eye. It's like, it is paint, and you can go over it if you mess up, but I'm like, I just don't want to mess up. And I'm like, am I going to get it on the right, in the right spot? I think I did a pretty good job. So I'm just highlighting her eyes right now. So I'm trying to get like a shadowy effect in her hair right here. I don't know if I did it any justice, but I just wanted to make it seem like, there's hair there. It's just in a dark shadow. I think it came out okay. And then here I'm just trying to touch up her lips and make them a little bit fit in a little bit better because I just didn't like the way they were sitting. Like the color was a little off to me, so I just gave it a little touch up. Sometimes getting lips like with the proper, I don't know, just sometimes it makes it so difficult to get the lip the way you want it to look. And sometimes you just get it right on the nose. But I was definitely having a little bit of trouble getting the lips the consistency that the thickness that I wanted it. And here I'm just adding like shading for the what's over her head, and that's what that is. I hope it looks like shading because I don't know. I was putting it down. I'm like, this could be like an epic fail, or it could look like what I'm trying to do here, and it's basically shaded up. And then I didn't like the color of that shrubbery. I'm going to call it shrubbery because I don't know if it's a flower. I don't know what it is. It's just some type of shrubbery that she was just enjoying with her mysterious mind. So I changed the color to that, and I think I like that color better. I think it suited the background and the surroundings a little bit better. And boy, if I could have just stopped here, I would have. This pen, oh my goodness, this pen. I really do like liners, but I feel like if you're gonna give me a liner to go on top of gouache, then maybe give me a thicker liner, or maybe give me some kind of like an ink brush, like a brush tip to go over the gouache, because the pen was fighting me every lash. Every lash I tried to put on was fighting me with this pen. It was my enemy, but I refused to give up. I refused to give in to the pen. So I pushed on through. I used the pen because it was part of the Upcrate package, and I refused to not use it. So I did my best using this, and I think it came out good for the most part. I realized that as long as you like didn't press down too hard, you can get it to go for a little bit, and then once it was like clogging up, you just scribble a little bit on a piece of paper and you should be golden. I'm just lining a little bit of her bangs to make them stand out a little bit more. And here I'm just brushing, I'm sharpening the edges of her hair and the lines so that it doesn't have like a rigidity edging to it. If that makes any sense, I don't know. It sounded good when I was thinking of it. So here I am again, fussing with the lips. I will get it. I end up liking the way her lips come out. So I do end up getting it, just it took me a bit to get there. It did. And here I lighten the color up on the bottom of her lip just so that there's contrast between the top and the bottom lip. I ran out of space on my palette. I was trying to make space for the wet. I'm like, girl, just give it up, get a new palette. There's not enough space, or just take a break, clean out your palette, and make the white work. But I didn't want to throw out any paint. I don't like wasting. So I just moved on to another palette and put the white paint in there so that I can use it on my painting. And the white palette is just strictly for like highlighting at this point and giving her shiny points with the white gouache. And ooh, let me tell you, I just love highlights. They're just so fun to do. I try not to go overboard with them, but I don't know. I hope I didn't. I think I was just enjoying how opaque that white was and how it was going down. And this is watered down. This is not even at its like purest thickness, consistency. And it was still giving a really, really nice highlight. Ah, the tape removal. This is like supposed to be the most satisfying part per the interweb. But I look at this, and while I'm doing it, I am like cringing because this is the part where is my tape too sticky? Am I gonna rip my painting that I spent hours on? And that's all I'm thinking. So while it's definitely satisfying to watch, if you're the person who did the painting, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Ooh. Okay. I think we have two least favorite items. The pen, I mean, you can use it for something else, the fine liner, and it works great. But this foil, oh, this foil. This foil is my nemesis. I don't like this foil. I figured out how to use it now, but during the process of using the foil on my art, I tell you, I just wish I could just stop right here and not use it. I wish that I would have left the painting as is and never put this foil on because it was it was stressful. It was very stressful. I end up like just taking a minute and walking away at one point with this foil. So upon further review of this foil, it's a cool idea. It is. It's awesome. It's great. You can have it. I don't want it. It's not my friend. I never want to see it again. I will never put it in any other piece of art that I do. If I want some kind of shimmery foil effect, I will use a pen. I will use a marker. I will use paint. I will use anything but glue and foil because it messed up. I'm not going to say it messed up my painting, but it's definitely not what I had in mind when I went to put it on. I wanted to give her some cute little silver eyelashes. You know how the girls do. And I wanted to give her like cute little, sparkles here and there. And let me tell you, I wasn't happy. So at this point, I'm like, okay, Elisa, just sign the paper, take off the foils, move on, let it go. Just let it go. And while I'm taking off the foil, it's like, oh, come on. Now you're ripping my paint off. What is going on here? Just a very frustrating part in the painting process when you're almost done with your art and it gets ruined. Like in the beginning, you mess it up. That's okay, because it's like in the beginning. You have plenty of time to just scrap it and start all over again. But when you're hours in on a piece of work and this new medium that you decided to put on your paper over and over again, it's just like, oh my gosh. And then I'm like, what any respectful artist would do, cover it. So I tried covering it with just a pink star because I wanted to put a star on the side of her face, you know, gem vibes and all that stuff. But I mean, it looked okay. So I kept it going and I'm like, okay, just stop, walk away and leave the star alone. And of course it bothered me. So I didn't just walk away. I did stop and take a break. You see, I right here, I'm just like, I'm doing my end once over, and then I come back because I'm a glutton for punishment. I figured out how to use it, and I'm like, no, this is not gonna define me. You're not gonna have the best of me, you glue stick. I'm gonna show you who's boss. And then I learned how to use the glue stick. So, with that being said, I'll tell you how I use the glue stick. You have to let the glue completely dry before you put the foil on it. Yeah. So when I did the trial on my scrap piece of paper, I guess it was a fluke that I was able to lift the foil up with the wet glue, because that's not how you use it. The way you're supposed to do it is put the glue where you want it, let it dry, and then put the foil. Yeah. So my error, my stress is for you and your not having to have an error and stress. You're welcome. Peace and love.